if we're looking at buying an existing apartment building and 2 of the tenants are over income, are we still going to buy it? Well, if we buy it and it's all NSP money and they're not eligible to live there, what do we have to do?
Displace them.
We have to relocate them. And if we have to relocate them, we're spending a lot of money to relocate them, right? Because we are paying them to move, and we're potentially, depending on how long they've been there, and there are rules on all this stuff, depending on how long they've been there, we could be paying their rent for the next 42 months. The difference between 30% of income and rent for the next 42 months. It could get expensive. Same notion if we are a special needs group, and our mission says we only provide housing for people with, in this category, people, persons with AIDS, elderly, frail elderly, whatever our category is. We've got someone who's not in that category. If we decide we're going to buy the building and evict them, boom, we've triggered relocation. And either we have to put a lot of extra money in our budget, and I'm guessing since we're talking about a relatively small number of units, at least with the LI requirement, a relatively small number of units, we add another $40,000 to our budget, so we went from in the black to in the red. So either we don't buy it, or there's a question and answer about how you figure out whether or not you can do mixed income. And according to the question and answer, you can do mixed income. And the proportion of the units that have to meet the affordability requirements of NSP is based on the proportion of the total cost of the deal. So let's say we have 12 units, so I can do the math in my head, and we do 50% NSP requirement, then we would require to have 6 NSP units. So if we've got a situation where we're facing, oh man, we're going to have to evict 2 people because they're over income, well, maybe we just do 10 units that are NSP. Now, what could mess that up? Well, our math. I mean, you know, sometimes, if we're going to do just 10 units NSP, we might get less NSP money from our local government because they're saying, well, you're only doing 10 units, and we're only giving, $40,000 a unit, and so instead of getting, $600,000, you're only going to get $500,000. Then that might make the deal not work. But if the math still works, we might want to consider that it's better to have these 2 units be not affordable and only do 10 of the 12 that are in SP, so we don't have to do relocation. I guess the bottom line is really trying to avoid relocation. See, that's where we're going to get to with Tom's thing, because if they all need rehab and you're going to buy 10, that means you're going to have more debt. Right?
Yeah.
Because you can't use NSP money to rehab the 2 units that are not NSP eligible units. So to get to Tom's point, saying, well, if we can charge more rent for 2 units, that might really help our cash flow and make the deal work. But if the rents that we can charge those folks aren't sufficient enough to offset the extra debt, it might not work. Remember I said y'all get sick of hearing me saying it's one big math problem? This is another example of it being one big math problem. If we are only doing 10 out of 12 units with NSP funds, and all 12 need rehabbing, because all 12 are probably going to need rehabbing, then those 10, and not only that, but we can't use NSP money to buy those last 2 units. So if it's, if it's a $1 million property, so I can do the math in my head, it's 10 units, it's a $1 million property, we've got 100,000 a unit, right? Well, the most NSP money we would get would be $800,000 because those last 2 units aren't NSP eligible. So now we have to borrow extra money to buy it, borrow extra money to rehab it, and we saw what happens. When we borrow more money, our monthly expenses go up. When our monthly expenses go up, what happens to our rent? It's got to go up. And so it's, one big math problem. So our options, if we have people that are not NSP eligible, are A, buy and relocate, expensive, challenging, easy to screw up. B, structured so that only a portion of the units are NSP and the rest are market rate. Or 3, which I think I would have to vote for, find another building to buy. Yeah, I think that would be my vote. But I kind of want to lay out what all your options are, because people are all, y'all are smart people. Y'all are always thinking of what if, what if, what if. So I kind of want to make sure we're kind of thinking through all our options. But relocation, expensive, it's like kind of Davis-Bacon, almost works. Expensive, easy to mess up, could make your deal go from working to not working really quick.